And we're live. Looks like we're live. Just gonna double check here.
It's always the typical thing, right? Like triple check when going live.
And it always works, but just want to double check.
Yeah, you only need that one time when it doesn't work, and it's like everything is screwed up. I think that's going to be a theme of things that we're talking about.
And I can confirm we are live in our group on our page. And welcome everybody. Welcome to another Geek Out session, Botfather Geek Out session. And today we are starring Emmanuel Sinka from Stack Marketer. Manu, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone, and looking forward to our chat.
Yeah, dude, good to see you.
Been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. And the last time we chatted sort of about what we're going to talk about today, email deliverability and content curation. That is a little bit more than a year ago. And that was sort of after we first met in Amsterdam. Hey, Rochelle, how are you doing? Let me just double check if microphone is good, everything is working awesome. Rochelle, if you just want to verify or double check, if you want to let us know that you can hear us, then we're just gonna kick this off. Manu, I want to give you a proper introduction. First of all, we met, I don't know, probably a little bit longer than, probably sort of 2 years ago here in Amsterdam. You were here for an affiliate meeting. And that's sort of the first time when you when you shared more about the project, the Stack Marketer. You changed the name, we'll get there a little bit. But before you actually went into email, you were a poker player, an entrepreneur, affiliate marketer, doing display, doing pop-up, doing Facebook advertising, everything. And now you are the founder of one of the best email newsletters, daily email newsletters out there. Stack Marketer. I still want to say what the F, but that's not anymore. But it's the Stack Marketer, one of the top email newsletters out there. A daily newsletter about the most important things that happen in our industry, featuring news, tech, actionable advice, and daily case studies built by you and your team that you're sending out every day, which is freaking awesome, guys. If you're not on Manu's list yet to receive Stack Marketer, do make sure you get on that as soon as possible. I'm just going to drop the link here below this one. So deals.yourbotfather.com/stacked marketer. This should be on your list for any online marketer out there. Manu, again, welcome all the way from lockdown. Or from straight out of lockdown, straight out of Vienna, where you're still in lockdown, as probably the most of us. Before we go to dive into our main topic, content curation and email deliverability, I want to know a little bit more about you. I already mentioned you did poker, you were an affiliate marketer. Dude, tell us a little bit more how you got to where you were now. And let's start with poker player. How did you get into poker?
Cool. So yeah, thanks again for having me. Luckily, Vienna is not so much in lockdown anymore. It's more like a country lockdown. So like within the country, you can do pretty much everything. It's kind of like the theme in most of Europe nowadays, I think. So, but yeah, still, it's not the same thing that it was, 6 months ago, where we could go to Thailand or Vietnam or something. So It is what it is. But yeah, so poker part of things. Well,
bring a beer in the meantime. Cheers, man.
Cheers. So the beginning of the poker part is actually pretty simple, but also I think pretty funny. So we were in our breaks in high school. We just wanted to play some cards, and then we used to play like this game that's typical in Romania. I'm not even sure what the name of it would be translated as. Anyway, but then one person was like, let's try to play poker. I don't know. I'm tired of this game. And I was like, whatever. Nobody really knew what they were doing. But that just meant, dealing the cards. You didn't really play poker because you didn't have any stakes. You didn't have no chips, no anything. It was just like, okay, let's see who gets lucky kind of thing. But then one person was like, it doesn't make sense. I bet one, like not $1, but like one Romanian currency.
Yeah.
So and at that point was like, wait a second, you can make money from this thing, right? Because you played for money. So that part when I don't even remember exactly who it was, but it was just like, no, we don't just deal, I bet one type of thing. It was like, okay, can make money with it. Let me Google some stuff about this. How to get better at poker strategy, stuff like that. So I Googled that, found a few websites. The main one was pokerstrategy.com, which nowadays is pretty, I don't know, not so active. Obviously it exists, but it's not doing so well. At least it's not what it was, 8 years ago. And the cool thing was that if you filled in their quiz, so they had some lessons if you learned, and if you filled in their quiz, they gave you $50 that you can use to play. You couldn't cash it out, but you basically proved to them that you're good enough to play. Yeah. And the way they used to make money was kind of with affiliate marketing, because they provided you as a lead to the poker site. They gave you $50, but if you were good enough, you were always playing and making money for them, because they would get a percentage of the commission.
Is that how you got into affiliate marketing as well? Was that sort of your first touch to affiliate marketing?
Well, kind of, but I wasn't really aware of, it's called affiliate marketing or what it is. So, but poker, the useful thing with poker then was it's kind of the things that you could value right now in online marketing, whether you're doing e-commerce or whatever. The networking and the community aspect of things, right? Because on that forum, everyone started from the same level almost. Everyone started with that quiz, everyone started with that $50, and everyone understood, like even the people who were doing, they were making 6 figures a month, they understood where everyone knew was coming from. So there were still a lot of, extremely good poker players helping the newbies and stuff like that. So you basically had this very active, thriving community of very good poker players. So it kind of helped build up. Not that I was extremely good, I was decent, and I could make a nice living out of it, but I wasn't I wouldn't show up on TV or anything like that. It's just so we're clear about that. I was, of course, better than the average, because the average loses money, but I wasn't a celebrity poker player like you have.
How long did you play poker before you sort of started focusing on affiliate marketing?
Well, affiliate marketing is a step after. There was a step in between affiliate marketing and poker, but I used to play poker I think I played for, let me count the exact years, 2010, and then I played for about 3 years. Yeah. And only 1.5 to 2 years, I would say, for a living. Obviously, because I was living in Romania, I could play I didn't need to make that much money to live there. But yeah, so obviously it changed once I moved to Vienna, but the whole, I quit at my peak, so that was the good thing. But then I was, when I moved to Vienna, the plan was to get into business. And the first business was not affiliate marketing. It was more related to software development. So that's the step in between. Tried a few things, got some investment as well, didn't work out. And then affiliate marketing starts at the time when we had to decide to pivot. Like the main technical person in the team, the CTO, and a co-founder, he wanted to leave. He said he was burned out. It just doesn't make sense for him anymore.
You pivoted from the software company.
Yeah, exactly. From software development to something else, and that something else was affiliate marketing. We actually made a huge list of things. Okay, what the skills that we have, what can we do? Hiring another CTO, maybe, all these sort of options. But then affiliate marketing was like, okay, it takes a few months to try out. There's some money, there's limited losses, because if you just say I want to spend $3,000 and then I'm done, you can do that. And it worked out. So, and it kind of fits well with the poker background, because there are some skills that apply to it as well. So
cool. So what are because I'm not sure if there are any people here who are into affiliate marketing. I am not necessarily into affiliate marketing. I truly find it an interesting space, but I also think it's you really need to know what you're doing, and it's probably not as easy as a lot of people think or maybe assume. It's not a get quick rich thing, and I think that's still what a lot of people think in affiliate marketing. So for me, affiliate marketing it's intriguing, but I don't have any sort of experience with it. What are some of your learnings in the affiliate space you can share with us for people who are interested to get into affiliate marketing? And then before we go into the whole email thing, but I think affiliate marketing is an interesting subject there.
Yeah, so in terms of being successful and actually getting rich, I think it's extremely difficult. There's no way around it, because you have to remember the way I would think about it is the affiliate is the guy that has to push performance as much as they can with low margins. Like they get the lead. Everyone else who, the affiliate network or whoever owns the product and then whoever builds it, there's so many other people that have to get paid, and you are the one selling it. So your commission from selling something or converting a lead is usually a very small fraction, and then you take all the risk. So if you're not there's no lifetime value for you for the customers that you deliver, but that's the risk you take. But the advantage is that you can get into it instantly.
Exactly. It's also the benefit. You don't have not having any customers, not having an own product, and so it's you're building your list or selling the product, and then you hand off everything to the product owner. That's I can see that.
Yeah, so the advantages for it is that it's relatively easy to start and still relatively cheap. Of course, you should still not think like, okay, from $10 I make, I double it every day. It's not like that. It's more like, if I have a few $1,000s, I can learn how to buy traffic, or I can build a website that over the next few months can be positive ROI, and then you build from there. But don't there's no such thing as being like quickly or anything. I know, but I know there's something like a lot of people pitch it that way and perceive it that way. I think it teaches you valuable lessons. It's very good it's easy to get into, and it's still very good. But yeah, and then
are you still doing anything with affiliate marketing these days?
If I'm doing, you mean?
Are you still doing anything?
No. So like the only connection that I still have with affiliate marketing per se is just that I follow news because it's still relevant to the newsletter, but I don't run any like affiliate campaigns, products, websites, and stuff like that. Because I'm not the sort of person who can focus on more than one thing. So then that's what I learned with poker, because that's why I quit it. It wasn't that it wasn't okay, it wasn't fun. I still enjoyed it and I still found it challenging, but I knew that if I still play poker, I cannot focus 100% on business. So it's like, okay, do you want to focus on poker or business? I kind of had to choose, because I just want to go all in on one thing that I think that makes the most sense. So it's the same here with the newsletter. I think it makes a lot of sense. I'm way more passionate about it. So I'd rather go all in on this rather than try, affiliate campaigns on the side. And
that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. Hey, you mentioned the newsletter a couple times. For people who just came in, we are interviewing Manu, who's the founder and the owner of Stack Marketer, one of the sort of top email newsletters for our industry and when it comes to online marketing. And what we're going to do, we're going to dive into content creation, email deliverability, and we're going to answer all your questions. So guys, if you've got any questions, do make sure you drop them in the comments. We will be monitoring the comments, and we'll sort of, as we go, we'll be answering all the questions you guys have. Now, Manu, just a quick recap. So you went from poker player, affiliate marketer, software developer to where we are now. Probably missing one or two things in between, but let's talk about the Stack Marketer newsletter. Why did you start Stack Marketer? And before you answer this question, guys, I'm just going to put this on the screen. If you didn't sign up yet for this newsletter, do make sure you do now. When you follow the link down on the screen, deals.yourbothfollow.com/stacked marketer, you will be in the know forever, almost. Manu, why did you start Stack Marketer?
Well, around 2 years ago, a little bit over 2 years. So at the beginning of 2018, it was kind of a turning point in what I want to do. I was working with the STM forum. I was also like having some of my, sorry?
What is the STM forum?
So STM forum is a pretty good community for affiliate marketers. So if you want to get started with affiliate marketing, it's one of the communities I would recommend have a look at and see if it's, if it's the type of affiliate marketing that you want to do. That's where I started. Kind of, it's similar to the poker strategy that I mentioned. So if someone's on the recording or was here from the beginning, similar type of community where people who actually know what they're doing are contributing relatively often to, follow alongs or daily updates from your campaigns and trying to give you the right direction to go into to make your campaigns profitable if you're as an affiliate. So definitely would recommend checking that one out if you are interested in affiliate marketing. So yeah, I was one of the team leads there. but then I kind of wanted to decide. So the thing for me is
No,
that
you're bypassing the point. You mentioned you were team lead there. Were you team lead on the email side of things?
no. Like
In the community?
purely, I was purely on the like thinking about the managing the team who's creating content, that who's promoting the forum, that sort of thing. So more like an operations person than anything else. Not much to do with email. So but yeah, but at the end of 2018, after I did a few things with there, I was also like, at the same time I still had affiliate campaigns. That's when e-commerce campaigns, actually, not affiliate campaigns, but similar style, very much focused on media buying. The decision was like, for me at least, the question and then the decisions that I had to make was related to, okay, do I want to still work? One, do I want to be focused on one thing or not? Which we just went through, that I think I'm better if I focus on one thing. And then the other thing is, with the STM forum itself, it was not my own project, right? So it's something like, it was cool as a job, but it still felt too much like a job. So I wanted to do something that is 100%, like make it in the way that I think makes sense. So build it and take my own risk, and then suffer the consequences or the rewards of the decisions that I make. So yeah, that's kind of when, at that point, I was like, okay, I have to part ways with STM and then figure out what I want to do. And that's where the newsletter came to be, but not right away. It took a few months to figure out. I tried, the main thing that I knew was that I wanted to have something where I could use my knowledge about marketing for an own product type thing, so where I can control the customer journey.
Did you see a need for it? Did you actually see a need for it? For
not a need, but I saw that, okay, it might be a want for people, and I saw a different newsletter that was focused on business. I'm not sure exactly how I ran into it, but it was more like when I was looking for different things that I could do as an own product. Obviously, you run into like all sorts of communities. You run into ebooks. You run into Facebook groups, stuff like that. And I also ran into, I think, I'm not 100% sure, but this is kind of how I think I ran into the other newsletter, which is called Morning Brew. So I ran into it by signing up to a financial / investment banking community called Wall Street Oasis.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was like Morning Brew had some posts there, and I was like, okay, I'll sign up and see what it is about. And then when I got the newsletter, I was like, okay, if I'm working in finance or if I'm a business person, this is great. It's like all the updates that I need. Is there anything like this for affiliates back then? That's what I was thinking, even like for affiliates. And search a little bit. There's nothing like it. Let's see if we can make it. That was the thought process behind it. Like, let's see if we can make a daily newsletter for affiliates that actually makes sense, that is, engaging to read, that is bringing, not just a list of links, everyone can do that, but it is bringing some insider valuable information, can actually pick things that are most relevant and explain why they are relevant. So either picking things that are relevant in a Facebook group or explaining why some kind of mainstream news that you might not really think about as a marketer is still relevant to you in your campaigns. So that's kind of how it started off, and it was named What the F back then.
Yeah, so and you changed the name, whatever. I always said What the F, but I think that's one of the reasons.
That's one of the reasons, yeah, exactly.
Why you actually changed it. So let's dive into that. It was named, what was the proper name, and what is the name now?
So it used to be What the F, as in AFF, coming from affiliate. Yeah. And then we saw a few issues with the name, mostly related to pronunciation and shareability. So like even in your case, it, and it's not even anything like, it's just your reflex to say it that way, right? Yeah. And then a lot of people say it the same way, and then added on top of it that obviously we couldn't have whattheaf.com. I'm not even sure. I think it's something related to skydiving, because AFF also stands for accelerated free fall or something like that. So the more you learn.
Well, that's, if nothing else, we learned that today.
Yeah. So, and then because of that, we had WTAFF.co as the domain, and it's short to C, but try to pronounce it, right? It took me a minute to pronounce it. So it's very hard to share verbally with other people. So then the process, what we thought for many months, like, okay, we have to change it probably, but at some point, and what do we change it to? How do we change it? It's just like a lot of questions that come up. And because the one thing that we knew for sure is like, we wanted to make it clear that the name change is not changing anything that we do with the content, which people who are subscribed see that it's pretty much the same. But it is a change that people might not, like.
Well,
so,
it's not anymore now. So these days it is the Stack Marketer.
Yeah, correct.
And it's awesome.
Much easier to say.
It's easier to say, and it's well, I'm still sort of used to the other thing, so sort of bad habits die hard. Dude, what is the core of the Stack Marketer? So before we're going to dive into everything you've learned with Stack Marketer in terms of email deliverability and content curation, just a quick note on what is the core of Stack Marketer? What is your purpose?
Well, the main purpose is purely to keep a marketer as up to date as we can, which is why we're daily, and then keep them up to date with things that matter. And I would say it's called Stacked Marketer, but it's very much focused on performance type of marketing. So affiliates are still a huge part of this. And then if you have, SEO people who really think about how do I actually get traffic, and not this kind of generic thing. I want to have good content that is unmeasurable and is just buzzwords around it. E-commerce people who are very much focused on their lifetime value for customers, ROAS, and stuff like that. So I would say keeping the modern marketer, the one that's very much focused on the performance side of things, as up to date as possible with the daily developments of their industry.
But guys, you send out daily freaking emails, 5 days a week, Monday to Friday.
Yep.
Yeah, I always get them. I said 1 p.m. or 12 p.m. Doesn't really matter. But the content there is solid. It's gold. How do you consistently come up and source the actual content for the newsletter on a daily basis for the last couple of years? How do you do it?
Well, it's as, there's that thing where the obvious answer, like the obvious solution is the most likely and the obvious answer. So it's like we actually go through a lot of, like, I think we have a list of 60 to 70 websites that we go through. And then everyone on the team is aware enough of the marketing side of things. So we go through all of them. We put the most relevant things in one Slack channel. And then we put them, like the most relevant things of the relevant things, we put them in the newsletter. And that's essentially...
How does something become relevant? What is sort of, how do you guys how do you source this content? Are you subscribed to all these groups? What is it? Sort of tricks of the trade. I want to know. I want to squeeze it up.
Yeah, so we are in a lot of the Facebook groups. We try to follow a lot of relevant people on Twitter, on Facebook. We look through usual websites. We obviously we go through the blogs or whatever they're called, like press releases for Google, Facebook, Pinterest, all these things. Like we look every day through their releases as well, like the official ones, and that's why there's a list of close to 100 100 links where it's like people to follow, websites, stuff like that. And then in terms of considering it relevant, it's a little bit of an experience thing, right? Like you see, okay, this is something that would affect a campaign more, like is a type of product banned or not allowed? Hey, face masks, right? Like was banned before, big news, allowed recently, again, big news. And although like the way Facebook presents it is nothing that would be like, for the mainstream media, it's like, whatever, it doesn't matter. But obviously as a marketer, as an advertiser, you're like, okay, this changes things a lot either way, whether it's allowed or not. So that's something that you just know if you're in the industry. And then we kind of gained a little bit of experience, right, to balance it out. We know approximately how many of our readers care about Facebook, how many care about Google, email, SEO, things like that. And we try to kind of balance out the content side of things, of, making sure that there's something for everyone if you spread it out over a week.
How many, I just want to take sort of a side step because I'm curious, how many subscribers do you have and how do you build your lists?
I started off by asking friends to recommend it. I started off by asking 10 friends, sign up to this to see how it is and if you like it, as a MVP with a few people in the industry. Like media buyers, affiliates, affiliate managers, advertisers, all the kind of 10 people that are covering the industry. And then out of those, a few of them had their own audiences, right? Like they had their own lists or a good social media account, stuff like that. And then after they said, this is great, I told them, can you please share it? So that's how it started. Then we tried to do some influencer marketing as well, asking other influencers in the space, look, this is what I'm doing. If you want like paid shout out for free, whatever your idea is, would definitely want to get some promotion going. And that was the kind of the beginning of it. And then over time, it was a mix of media buying, word of mouth, and referral program. And most recently, we also did a few newsletter ads with a few of the bigger newsletters.
Okay, cool. Hey, Facebook ads, because I know that there are a lot of people watching here, whether it's now or the replay, that are into media buying. What are sort of the top 2 campaigns that drove the most relevant subscribers to your newsletter?
There are not really top 2, but the main thing that worked the best was story ads. So essentially, story ads of thing like 5-second animation type videos, story ads to a relevant audience, to a lookalike of our, like, you put your Facebook pixel, and so lookalikes of the pixel, not of subscriber list or anything like that.
Yeah.
The 1% lookalike of the pixel, and that worked the best in terms of CPA, both for UK, Canada, US. And obviously, so story ads as the placement. But then one thing that helped a lot was so our hosting is based in Europe. So UK had very good CPA or CPL in this case. And then US had a very bad one. Of course, you can say like US is more expensive and yada yada. But then if you look at the analytics and see like the load times in the US is 4 times that in the UK, you probably have to fix that before you judge it. And once we fixed that, we noticed that once the website's load speed was similar across the world, or like at least UK and US, our target audiences, then it went to a more reasonable cost per lead. So I would say two main learnings. Story ads are pretty good depending on what you do, but especially for like impulse things that are for free. And then make sure that your website loads as fast in all the countries you're testing, because you might exclude a country and the issue is not your campaign and your messaging, it's just your website sucks in that country. It's like, or I mean, think about it this way as well. Let's say you would be promoting something in a country with slower internet, or not, there's none that comes to mind exactly, but if you're promoting to a country with slower internet, you might have to redo your website completely and just strip off a lot of the animations, videos, whatever you have going on it.
Would you then even use sort of external sources like landing pages? Wouldn't you just maybe use Canvas ads or maybe Messenger?
Yeah. So you have to think like, what's the best? You should test all these things, because maybe although you know that if you put like the same internet connection behind it, a longer sales letter converts better, but maybe the best for you is to get a lead on Messenger and then send them to a more higher, like send them a message, and then when there's a higher intent with the click, to a lower loading website or email or something.
Hey, one of the things I love what you said was you need to focus on writing your emails. You need to focus on knowing and understanding what your audience wants to read before they actually sort of start engaging with it. Because if you start pushing out content that nobody wants to read or isn't necessarily interested in, they're not going to open the emails anyway. How do you research and how do you know what the top topics are for your daily newsletter? Because you're sending out these emails day in, day out, and you're getting open rates of 40%. How do you know what your audience wants?
Well, the main thing is that the start of it was more like, I want to create something that I would read. So I was one of my target audience type of, you can say like I'm my own target audience in that sense. So it makes it a little bit easier. There's no doubt about that. So I think a starting point is making sure that you're, maybe even if you're not the perfect target audience for your own product, you should be pretty close to it. I think that's something really important. If you look at it, like marketers is one thing, but then if you look at the top, fitness coaches or anything like that, they're maybe not the best marketers, but they're the most passionate about fitness, right? That's one example that you find very often, but I think it's the same.
This is great advice for when starting any business. If you're not passionate about what you're doing, then you will have a hard time coming up with good content, or at least getting into the office every day.
Yeah, if you wouldn't buy what you're selling, it's very difficult to sell that. That's essentially the lesson. So, and you don't have to be passionate before. You can learn, you can explore and see what really, what really clicks with you. It doesn't mean that you have to have it all figured out, because for me, I didn't start, like I tried to build communities that had to do with real estate stuff, but it's like, makes no sense for me.
But do you do any specific research, Manu? Do you have any tips or tricks on how to sort of figure out what the top interests are of your email list?
Yeah, so it kind of has to do with how we, let's say, onboard people. Starting from the very beginning, the first page, like after they sign up. So maybe some of you signed up already. Once you sign up, the welcome page explains a few things. And one of those things is like a survey that asks, look, we want to always know what you care about, so we know what we should talk about. And that's kind of how we also saw it evolve from affiliate marketers, purely affiliate marketers that you would find at Affiliate World and Affiliate Summit, to more like, okay, there's some people that you might find at the Web Summit as well, not just the Affiliate World. It kind of, you see the audience evolve, and then you see how you can curate content for them. Like, do you care about Facebook? That started to shrink a little bit, so definitely don't talk about Facebook only, for example.
But do you do a survey? Did you just say? Oh, sorry, I missed that. Do you do a survey on?
Yeah. So every single person who signs up will see the survey. Not everyone fills it in, of course. It's more like 10% of the people who sign up, maybe a bit more. But it is useful. It's not really pushed in front like do it. It's more like if you want to.
Yeah.
Let me check exactly how many people did it recently, because I can just have it here.
I mean, so you have your top of funnel. You're driving people to that sign up page
okay, it's around 20%. Yeah.
But do you then ask people what they want to, what they're interested in before they sign up, or after?
No, after they sign up. So the point is to try to see like how the demographics of our audience change.
Yeah, dude, I love that. So you're driving traffic to a specific lander. On the lander, there's a sign up, all nice, and then on the thank you page, there is a
what you will get, like the email will show up at this time, and we learned that we shouldn't put only Central European time. I think we changed that recently. I'm not sure, because we started to get more people from the US, and then they're like, "What's CET in my time zone?" A little bit less intuitive. It is. It's a learning thing. Well, and then one of those things is the survey.
I love it. So that's a great advice, man. So sign up, thank you page, little survey, and based on your experience, 20% of the people actually fill out the survey, give you the information in terms of what they will be interested in. And it's also,
I can give you a tip to make it more than 20%, but I can also explain why we don't push it that hard. So
why don't you push it? Why are you not pushing it that hard?
So one of the best places to put such a survey would probably be the first email that people get from you, like a welcome email. But depending on it's kind of like flowing into the email deliverability thing here. Depending on how good your domain reputation is, there's other things you can get away with in your welcome email. So if you have a smaller audience who's extremely engaged in like 60% plus open rates and 20% plus click to open rate, so like people who click in the email after they opened, then you can probably get away with a more promotional sounding welcome email. And that includes having more links. For Gmail specifically, this is very difficult. Like for Gmail specifically, if you have too many links, you get in the first email that you send someone, you're going to get sent into the promotions tab at best. And that's not what you want.
Before we go down this rabbit hole, I know what's ahead, and I know.
Yeah, that's why I was like prefacing it with like it's going into that.
No, it's going into that. Okay, guys, brace yourselves, because we're going into email deliverability, and we're going into tips and tricks, not necessarily hacks, but if nothing else, best practices on how you can improve your email deliverability. there is a full guide available on everything we're going to talk about. And we're not even going to talk about everything that is in the guide. I think we're going to stay away, or at least going to steer just around all the techie stuff, because all the techie stuff and more is available for you guys in the guide. So you don't have to make any notes. I'm just going to put this on the screen here. Guys, if you follow this URL, live.yourbotfarmer.com/email deliverability, that opens up in Messenger, by the way. You will get the guide. You will get the guide, the email deliverability guide. If you're watching this on the page, if you're watching this on botfather.com, you can also comment with guide, and then you should get the guide as well. Now, before we go in, guys, do make sure you download this, because it's full with information about how you can improve your email deliverability right now. Manu, let's dive in. You already mentioned it, sending a first email to a subscriber. What are the best practices for setting up your ESP, your email service provider? Or even better, let's take it one step back. I assume that the majority of people here are already having an ESP and they're already sending emails. Yeah? Mm-hmm. What are things we can do now to improve our email deliverability?
Sure. So on the ESP side of things, if you're using anything that's popular and doesn't allow any sort of aggressive tactics, you'll be fine. It doesn't matter. Like, they are making, like, if you would do something that it hurts their deliverability, you would be getting banned anyway. So as long as you're using something like, from Klaviyo to MailChimp to ActiveCampaign, we're using Campaign Monitor to ConvertKit, whatever you're using, anything will be pretty good. In terms of deliverability, it's not going to matter much, if at all.
It doesn't really matter which ESP, email service provider, you're using.
Yeah, exactly. So use whatever tool fits the best in terms of features for sending the type of emails that you want. Now, on the other side of things, like what matters, because you asked, how do you...
Well, the majority of us are already sending email.
Yeah.
We already have an ESP. What can we do now or tomorrow that will most likely improve our email deliverability?
Sure. So there's one thing would be the first email that you send to any of your subscribers. And then one thing is the techie stuff. For the techie stuff, if you go to the guide, it's a lot of copy pasting. We try to explain what everything is and why it matters. It's something that you don't really have to know by heart, but it's very useful. But it's very simple to actually implement if you're not very techy. It's a lot of copy pasting. I would just put that.
I went through it, guys. If you just follow the link down here, if you follow that link, you will find all the sort of the steps to walk through to all the techie stuff. So I think we're going to steer around the techie stuff, because it's all in the guide. That's
very useful to do.
A lot of copy pasting.
Scary, but copy pasting.
And if not, you can always send Manu a DM, and then within an hour.
Okay, let's say 59 to 69 minutes, around there. It's like not exactly the hour.
Okay, anyway. So first email is, we already have our ESP set up, and somebody's a new subscriber, and the first email we're going to send to them. What is important in this first email?
Yeah, so it's extremely important to actually get engagement, and that means not just an open. So Gmail is the most popular inbox, and it's probably the one that kind of guides, at least if you're based in, there's only a few specific regions where Gmail is not the main one. So I would focus on Gmail for the most part, because the others are A, easier, and B, not as spread out. Like there are just less of them. Like in our case, it's more than half of the people. I think it's more like 65% of our subscribers are using Gmail as their inbox.
How many subscribers do you have? Do you want to disclose that?
Sure. We have 14,500, a little bit over. So close to 15, not quite there, a little bit under.
More important, what's your open rate in the last 2 months or last month?
Last month or last 2 months, over 45%. We'll have to look if it's like 47 or 46 or something like that. But over 45, going pretty well.
Yeah, nice. I love it, man. I love it.
So for Gmail specifically, it cares a lot about engagement, and Gmail will care a lot about how your domain performed before. So when you're starting out, or like if your domain doesn't have good engagement score, let's call it, you will have to do a more simplistic email. If you use HTML in your email, you'll kind of like be more likely to be sent to promotion. So you can say like it decreases your score. But then if you have, if you don't have many links, if you don't have many images.
No, you're going too fast because no, the thing is, and we as marketers, we want to create beautiful emails, and we're going to throw images in there, and we're going to use drag and drop builders and all that. But what you just said there is when we send our first email to our subscribers, it should be plain freaking simple. No HTML, no fluff, no nothing, and our goal should be engagement.
Exactly.
When we do engagement, that will then improve our domain authority. No, it's not domain authority.
Let's say like domain engagement or domain. I don't know. There's no name for it, right? We can just make up names right now. That's what marketers do now.
Dude, this is crucial. We need to. So the first emails we send, and I love what you said in the guide as well. The emails we send should look like it is sent from one friend to another, because if when it has a lot of HTML in it, it's most likely commercial. So it will come or drop in a folder you don't want it to be. So guys, if nothing else, keep that in mind. The first emails you send, you're building your lists with whatever lead magnets you have and whatever drip campaigns you have. Make sure that those first emails are plain text as much as possible. Now, what you said as well is interaction is important, not only the open. How can we push for engagement?
Yeah, so this is the part where you start to learn a little bit about you have to know a little bit about your audience, right? So there's a few engagements that you can get. Obviously, the open is one of them, and that's, let's say, the easiest one to get, because if you have a lead magnet, or if you give people the first email, people usually open from you because they want to see what you're about. They don't know you so well. But then the next step is getting the more valuable engagement, which is then a click, and the most valuable would be a reply. And also, actually, like since it's Gmail, getting that action for someone if they have. If they got your welcome email, your first email in promotions, to drag it to primary, that's also a high engagement signal. So what you want to do in your initial email is try to get people to click in your email for a good reason. By the way, I'm not sure why, but the phrase click here might not be the best. So say something else. It happens. Like there's small things that make big differences at some points. Then not too many images. I said it already. It doesn't mean that you cannot have any, but minimize. Like have your logo in a nice position and a lot more text. But for the link, like getting the click, don't just flood it with links. Have one or two very specific links that help the user. Like they really want to click on it.
And we're still talking about the first email.
Still first email. Yeah, and then. That's where you can include, a survey. As I said, you can include a survey in your first email, and people will fill it up way more often, and you get a click. But if you have too many clicks, if you have too many links, you get sent in promotions as well. So you have to balance it out. And then the last thing is try to get a reply. So and the last and probably one of the most valuable engagement things is to try to get a reply from your first email, right? Because let's say if you, coming back to the friend thing, if a friend emails you, and even if it's for the first time, you will probably reply to them. So that's kind of how it goes.
Can we recap this in saying when we're building our lists and we send our first email, the first email should be as it was from a friend. When an email is sent or received from a friend, more often than not, it doesn't include any HTML. It doesn't have any heavy images in it. It doesn't have tons of links in it. And the best engagement we can get on it would be a reply. Then the next one would be an actual click on a link, the actual engagement in it, and that will then help us get better sort of domain authority on our email site.
I think the reply is the most valuable, but it might not be the easiest to get. So, if you can get 10 clicks, it might be better than a reply. I don't know where the exact.
What we need to be aware of is we can actually craft our copy with sort of with the objective to get a reply. It might not be
Exactly.
the easiest one, but as long as we are aware that the reply is super valuable, then we can craft our copy to say, hey, if you got any questions, hit reply, or hit reply because I would love to hear from you. Anything like that. It's just something we need to be aware of, that the engagement in our first emails should be as high as possible. So we should craft our emails, our first emails to a new subscriber when we're building lists, should be as if we were emailing a friend.
Yeah, and also, like, for example, what we actually don't ask for the reply in the first email. We try to go for more clicks. But then, let's say you're an e-commerce store, and you have also your. There's a lot of people who build lists for the e-commerce stores by trying to offer a discount, right? But here's one of the ideas that I haven't seen. Of course, I haven't searched very deeply for it, but I haven't seen in groups or anything, is like the first email after people sign up to get your discount. Maybe tell them like, hey, here's the, the top 4 products that people pick. Reply with which one you want to get the discount, and we'll make it double discount or something like that. Like, you can get the reply and make it a little bit playful. Like, hey, these are the things that other people chose. Maybe which one do you want? Tell us. Like, not by clicking, but maybe by clicking, but reply to it, whatever.
Manu, do you have any insights on how long? So let's say we are focusing on getting. I'm translating this and thinking, okay, the first emails we're going to send when somebody signs up need to be sort of as much plain text as possible.
It can still be your HTML email, but don't overload it with images. That's the main thing. Don't add too long of a, not too long of a text and not too many images.
Good point. I would then go for engagement. How long does that engage? How long does that work? I mean, is that something, if people engage with it, is that sort of set in stone, or does it fade away?
So it's more like how often people engage with your domain. So if your first email is always highly engaging, the next emails would always continue, and then it's your job with your content or whatever you're delivering to keep people engaged. Of course, some will drop off, but like your initial domain reputation will still stay with new people over and over again. It's kind of like, it goes as a snowball either way. If you do well, it kind of snowballs for better, and you can get away with more things, like more images later on, more links.
No,
but if you do bad, it kind of snowballs into sending you to spam and not even promotions.
No, I got it. So there are 2 things going on here. So we need to keep researching what people want to read, because we will only open emails with content, expected content we want to read. Then when we open the email, we as marketers, we need to think about how can we get engagement on or in that specific email in order to sort of keep to stay in the groove. And what I mean by stay in the groove is we need to keep that engagement going in order to send those positive signs and signals back to, let's say, Google or the ESP.
Yeah, and it's more like you should think about it, what's the ratio of the engagement from your total list, right? If you have 100 people and 50 engaged, that's great. If you have 1,050 engaged, not so great. If you have 100,050 engaged, that's bad.
Now, Greg, I saw your question. I'm going to pull in that question a little in a sec. Manu, I've got a question on that. The thing is, the ratio. We as marketers are often obsessed or focused on numbers.
Yeah.
Big list, low ratios. Not low ratios, but when you have big lists, the ratios on engagement can be skewed. Can you tell us a little bit more about list hygiene? What are best practices and things we should consider in terms of list hygiene?
Yeah, so the way I try to think about it is not so much as how many people are on the list, but how many people are reading this. So think about it this way, like if you would have people coming to your website, but they're all like bots, not reading, nobody useful, does that count as traffic? I would count it the same way. Like if there's someone on my list but not reading emails, they don't really count as an active reader, so it doesn't matter. So if you're building a list in any sort of way, think a bit less of gathering subscribers, but try to gather readers, so people who actually read, and then to keep them engaged, or to keep your list clean, to ensure that as much as possible everyone who's coming new to the list will still, like, you keep your, let's say, like, your good score and everything. What we do is we have two sequences, one, or like not two sequences, but two re-engagement campaigns. One for new subscribers who don't open their first 5 or 6 emails. There's a little bit of a delay there because, if someone subscribes on the same day, but after we sent the email, there's a little bit of a thing there.
And for the record, you send daily emails 5 days in a week.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
The 5-day sequence here makes sense. So if you're sending maybe emails once or twice a month, you need to
you have to adjust it.
Yeah, okay, just for the record.
Yeah, so we have it for the first 5 or 6 emails, which means about a week. Let's say like around a week.
Yeah.
If they don't open any of them, they get sent a re-engagement, which asks them to not just open it. It says, like, if you don't want to be on the list, like if you want to stay on the list, click here or reply, whatever they prefer. Because some people don't want to be tracked and they just reply that they want to stay, which is perfectly fine. But some just click and then stay. But most of them actually are just, people who signed up, impulse, they don't want to stay. So most of the people who get this email actually drop off, which is normal. But imagine if they wouldn't drop off, you would have like 10 to 20% more people who are like inactive on your list, at least in our case. And then the second one is a more common practice, which is people who didn't open for a longer period of time, who were active before. So in our case, what we do is for the past 2 months, so that's around 40-ish emails, 40 something. I mean, kind of
a little bit more than a month.
Yeah. Well, 2 months because it's like sending only on work days.
Yeah,
so
okay.
yeah, so it's like past 40-ish campaigns. Similar thing. We send them like we've noticed that you didn't open for a long time. If you still want to get our emails, click here or let us know with a reply. And if not, in a few days or in a shorter period of time, you'll stop getting emails from us.
Yeah, hey guys, and just for the record, these templates are available in your email deliverability guide. So if you go to this link, live.yourbotfile.com/email deliverability, or if you're looking on the page, when you comment guide, you should be able to get this in Messenger. Just comment guide when you look in this on the page, or just go to this URL to get this guide with all this sort of broken down information from Manu. That said, Manu, let's go back to a question from, just one step back. List hygiene, guys, super freaking important. It's not about the people who you have on your list. It's the people who open it. And I'm going to be blunt honest with you. My personal sort of email list, the Botfather or whatever email list, engagement is open rates are really bad. So I'm just going to be honest with you. I need to implement the exact things you just said, and I'm going to do that sort of, not it's the weekend tomorrow, so I'm not going to do it tomorrow, but I'm going to do it next week. I'm just going to cut everybody out, send that re-engagement email, cut people out, because I saw in a different project I'm working on that when you launch a new list with a specific segment of your customers, I saw open and click rates, I never saw 40, 50%, and click rates like 20, 30%. It's like, oh, what the fuck? But it's not about the numbers. This was just a small list of 800-900 people, but those people actually engaged, and those actually matter. That said, what are your thoughts? Because I'm just going to take it one step back. You mentioned the ESP, the email service provider, ActiveCampaign, MailChimp, Campaign Monitor, whatever. It doesn't really matter which one you're using, but I'm curious about your thoughts about this one. ManyChat rolled out an email service, which means we are now able to send emails from within ManyChat. What are your thoughts about that? So we're not using a specific ESP, but we're sending it through a third-party channel.
Well, I think also Facebook is starting to roll something out there, right? So it's like
I haven't seen it. So
I haven't seen it either, but I know the news. So it's like it's rolling out and people have seen it around. Well, I think it depends a little bit on two things. It can be very good so I don't know how, like we said, the techie stuff is also one of the easier steps you can do. And if you can do the techie stuff as well, I think it's super good. If not, there's pros and cons to it. A pro can be that you kind of Sorry?
You cannot do the techie stuff.
Yeah. So then it can be a pro depending on your size or like how to explain this. You're basically then piggybacking on the reputation of everyone who sends with ManyChat and their domain, almost. Not completely, like there's always a few, every small point matters. So just like, there's a bigger portion where you piggyback on ManyChat's reputation and their domain and their authentication, everything like that. So it can be good if you're sending things that are a little bit too aggressive, but they're going to be bad if you could do it better yourself. If you get what I mean. Like if you would want to implement everything clean by yourself, the way we try to explain it in the guide, you would probably be better off not using ManyChat. But if you are a little bit like, email is useful, but I don't want to go as a pro email marketer. I don't want to provide content over email. I just want to help it. I want to do the 80-20 of things. It might be a good one. So, but I'm pretty sure ManyChat, if they want to go serious into email, they will offer a lot of such options where you can customize quite a few more things.
Okay, but for now, we're not able to optimize anything there. We toggle a button which then enables email, and we send through ManyChat, and that's sort of a black box. I want your honest, blunt opinion here. Should we do it or shouldn't we do it?
I think you shouldn't, personally. I think it's better for two reasons. One, I think it won't be as good as when you do it yourself, if you're serious about it.
So you said we shouldn't.
Yeah, like if you are lazy, do it, whatever. It cannot be bad for you if you do it, right? Like it's like, but if you want to make it work as good as you possibly can, don't do it. For two reasons. One, it won't work as well as when you do it yourself. And second one, do you really want 100% of your business to be into one product? Isn't that a lesson that we've seen over time? 100% on SEO 20 years ago, or not 10 years, like 15 years ago, and whatever it was, bad. 100% on Facebook, bad. I'm not sure if you want to have 100% of your business based on ManyChat.
Well,
100%
offer the email service. So
yeah, but you can always back up your list, right? So you can always
back up your list. That's a good one. I need to check into that. I'm not sure if you are able to. Yeah, well, yeah. You can.
To some extent, you can, but still, at the same time, if ManyChat bans you, you cannot do email or chatbot. But if an ESP bans you, you can do Messenger, like you can do ManyChat, or the other way around. You know what I mean? I think you shouldn't, basically. Like you can play around with it and see, but nah, I don't know. I think you have to make it better.
No, there you go. I think that is crucial there. So what you say, when we're lazy, yes, use ManyChat's email service. If you are serious about email marketing and you want to have more control, use any ESP, whether it's Campaign Monitor, ActiveCampaign, Infusionsoft, Klaviyo, whatever, and configure it as much as possible to improve your email deliverability, and everything is in the guide. And you guys saw sort of that link going through. If you want to have the guide, just comment guide in the comments below. If you're looking at this from the Facebook page, or else just follow the link below in the comments. Dude, awesome. Content curation, important. First email, super important. Go for engagement. Tell us a little bit more about what tools can we use in order to, prospecting is not the proper word for it, but what tools can we use? I think Glock apps is one of them.
Yeah.
What tools can we use to sort of predict where our emails are going to? And before you answer that question, I'm going to go back to Greg, because Greg has a similar question. I have a WooCommerce store, and when someone registers as a user and buys the order, the order confirmation is going to the promotions tab. Since they have opted in, shouldn't it go to the inbox? How do you get this to go to the inbox?
Yeah, interesting.
That's
so one, it's actually explained a little bit in the guide. Double opt-in or not doesn't make a huge difference in terms of engagement. Of course, like consent and stuff like that, it makes a difference. So depending on how you have things set up, you might need double opt-in or you might not. But for engagement specifically, it won't make a difference, because most ESPs are set up that the first confirmation email is sent from them, not from you. So basically, you don't, like, even though they double opted in, they engage with you, they engage with your ESP. So tough luck there. So you might have to change to make sure that the first the double opt-in is coming from your domain with this first email that we've just discussed. So with these sort of tips around it. And then, yeah, what was the question? Like, oh yeah, so how do you get it to the inbox?
How can we make sure that when somebody opts in, how can we make sure that that the email in Gmail is actually going to the inbox?
Well, yeah, so the first email, the opt-in email, the confirmation email, whatever you want to call it, but that first email you have to make sure that it comes from your domain, the same domain which the next emails will come from. And that's where the techie stuff helps a little bit, making sure that it has all the techie stuff set up as well. Like everything should be exactly the same from field, same email address, which is like store name at storedomain.com, not don't have like 100 domains where you send, it will make a difference. It's all the engagement will probably be like to some extent as granular as the actual email address. It's not 100%, your domain is more important, but that's how you should be very very picky about it and make sure that all the engagement is pumped into one address, I would say.
And that is part of the techie stuff. And we're bypassing the techie stuff a little bit today because it sort of goes deep and
it's not really something you talk about. It's like you see it and you copy paste it.
Yeah, exactly. So there's not much to talk about. So guys, do make sure you get your head around the techie stuff, which is all in the guide. And there's a comment, there's a link below this video if you're watching the replay, and you can get the guide by just typing guide. Quick on the techie stuff. You want to touch upon that sort of in a minute? What do we need to do?
Well, there's essentially, I forgot exactly how many, but like 4 to 5 DNS settings entries. So you basically, the DNS entries, some of them or most of them are public. So essentially when you send an email, what the receiving end will do, they will check your DNS entries and they will say, okay, does this match? Like, does this DNS entry say that they can send the email? Like, can this IP? Yeah, exactly. DKIM, SPF, demark those.
Yeah.
So it will just check like, okay, is it essentially all the techie stuff is authentication, proving to the email inbox that receives the email that you are the rightful sender. Because if you go into, for example, Campaign Monitor or whatever other provider, you can send email as any domain that you want, but you won't be authenticated as it. So if you try to send as our domain, you will get sent into spam because that's how we set it up. Like if it's not from our domain which is authenticated, you will get into spam. Exactly. So
don't bypass the techie stuff. Don't be lazy. Do the techie stuff, get it done, outsource it if you need to, or just copy paste it from the guide or wherever you want to find it. Techie stuff, super important. Content curation, super important. First emails, super important. List hygiene, super important. It's not about the numbers. It's about engagement and people actually opening and clicking in your emails. Now,
and replying.
Yeah. And replying, exactly. So the overall engagement. Let's tap into Glock apps. I know you prefer to use Glock apps. For the record, we're not affiliated with Glock apps by no means. But tell us a little bit more about Glock apps and why we should use it when we're sending emails.
Cool. Yeah. So I tried to look for something like an inbox placement predictor tool tester, whatever. Those are the sort of queries that you put on Google to try to figure it out. Because I was like, okay, if we get like our open rates dropped a little bit, why is it? Do we get sent into promotions? Someone said it. We went into promotions. Can I predict this? Found a few things, but it's mostly those sort of like spam tests that doesn't give you feedback. But one of the results was Glock apps, and this is a tool that you only can use paid. So that's like a downside of it. So unless you can use it for not a trial, but like
3 free emails.
Okay, so yeah, so you can use it for a little bit and stuff, but if you're serious about it, it's worth it anyway. And essentially what I saw with it is that it tells you with 80 to 90% accuracy where your emails will be placed. And it's not just like it tells you where they will be placed, they will give you some decent reasons why, some decent tips of what you should change to improve deliverability. So let's say you have a certain phrase. So there's a lot of typical vocabulary that you would have in a sales page, like opportunity, winning, even something like marketing partner. Those are some common phrases that seem pretty innocent, but when you have them with a certain, when you have them too often, Yeah, and the whole text, they will end up just making sure that you go into promotions. But then if you change those with some synonyms, you get into primary.
Yeah, so what you actually need to do before you actually send out your emails, you need to run your emails and your headlines and your content in general. You need to run it through a tool like Glock Apps, and that will then sort of predict where your email is going to land.
And you will also see, like, because for example, you have that initial email that we talked about, right? You run your initial email through it, and then you see at some point maybe that something like, let's say your domain reputation is worse, and then your initial email will start getting sent into the wrong place, but then you change it and it gets sent into the good one. But then you see that it's already good. Maybe you can get a little bit more, let's say, aggressive in that initial email. You also can test it.
Initial email, do you mean
the very first email that you sent?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that you can balance that out based on how it, like, Glock Apps will tell you, like, okay, now it's good, but then 2 months later maybe you're so good that you can push it a little bit further.
So okay, keep testing.
Yeah.
What I truly liked about, one of the things I liked about sort of the examples you gave in the guide was build your email, build what you want to send out, run it through Glock Apps, and then look what the Glock Apps predict where it will land. And you had an example about sort of a headline, and you made the headline in 3 elements.
Yeah.
And what you did was, so based on the existing headline, you tested sort of in Glock Apps before you send it out. You had a promotions probability of, I don't know, 75% or something.
Yeah, I think it was like 100% the very first one. Yeah.
But this is a great example. So what you did, so you sort of broke down the headline. You used Glock Apps to test part 1, part 2, and part 3 of the headline. And in part 3, you saw that was actually, that part of the headline was causing the email going to be sent to promotions tab. So what you did based on that learnings, you sort of redid the headline, and you now were able to get it into a 50% inbox rate, which is freaking awesome.
Yeah, I think in the end it was even more. And now it's like, since we know that one thing that changed, not exactly because of that, but one of the reasons why we changed the style in our headlines, like subject lines, was because we saw that it's more headache to test a longer 3-part headline subject line than a single subject line. So
yeah, so Glock Apps, it's not free, it's not super expensive, but a tool like Glock Apps is crucial if you're serious with email marketing, and if you want to get a proper prediction where your emails are going to land, which tab or which folder in the specific ESP. Hey,
and you don't just, that's the key part of a tool like that, is that it's not just telling you where, but it's trying as much as possible to explain why, I think, and what to change. I think that's the real value out of it, because predicting is pretty simple.
Yeah. Hey, I got a question here from Nick Harvey. SPF, DKIM, and DMARC don't work with Gmail, Outlook, etc. What's your take on this?
Well, what do you mean doesn't work to set it up if you send from Gmail, or the recipients don't matter if they're on Gmail or Outlook? So if you go to your, like, a newsletter that you received now, and I'll just try to explain exactly. So you go to a newsletter that you received, you go to the top left of the contacts, there's that arrow that goes down and it says where you can expand to get more info about the email, where it says like from, to, date, subject, mailed by, and signed by. Well, that works. So it's basically like DKIM, it tells you if it's signed by a different domain, and then mailed by, it tells you if you have SPF set up. So it does work. I mean, I'm not sure if you mean it doesn't have an effect, or Gmail doesn't care about it, but you can see the difference between emails that are SPF aligned and DKIM authenticated.
Okay, long story short, should we sort of bother with tech stuff with Gmail, Outlook, etc.?
Yeah, so I think one of the Gmail is very specific to your engagement, so you could get away without it, but it's kind of like, for me, it's like, why wouldn't you do it? It takes you 10 minutes to do it once, and even if it's a 1% improvement, if you do it for your lifetime, why not? And the other thing is like a DMARC or DMIRC, whatever you pronounce it. Because I only Googled it. I never heard the email pros. Like I never heard the veterans pronounce it. So the other thing is for DMARC, you have BIMI, which is essentially like a it's like brand even for brand identification or something. Like basically, you can put an avatar in almost all inboxes if you set that up. And to set that branding up, you need DMARC set up as well.
Nick says you cannot do things like validate domains in Gmail and Outlook, etc.
I think there's a confusion here.
All right, well, we'll leave it.
So let me try to explain. So the confusion is you authenticate your own domain. So you say that you're the rightful owner of the domain by putting some information from MailChimp or Klaviyo, and then Gmail and Outlook can check that and can cross-check that when they get the emails. So that works. But of course, you cannot validate
the Gmail
you don't validate Gmail because you don't have access to them. Like they are the ones.
You're validating the sending domain.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So Glock apps, guys, just look at it again. It's not free. We're not affiliated, but definitely look into it to predict where your emails are going. And when you run a test before you send your emails, you are able to update your emails, your copy, your headline, in order to increase the probability of your email being dropped in the inbox. So Greg, I hope that sort of answers your question as well. You might want to use a tool like Glock apps to run or test your post-purchase confirmation email to see what Glock apps gives you back. You can make some iterations, you can run it again and see if you're able to increase the probability to drop it in the inbox. Hope that makes sense. So we talked about Glock apps, hygiene, talking about domain warm-up. What should we do when we have a new business, we're having a new domain? How do we handle a new domain as we would handle a new Facebook pixel?
Well, I don't know enough about Facebook pixels to do the exact analogy, to be fair. So like the Facebook pixel is just like a way of transmitting the data, right? So I would say
it needs data to be accurate.
Yeah.
What do we do with a new domain? What are the best practices when we start sending emails from a new domain? Let me just give you sort of a use case here.
Mm-hmm.
Onboarding a new client, and they have their new business, their startup, their new business, and they are looking to expand their business. They're looking into getting into email marketing. They haven't really sent emails before. It's let's say, fresh domain. What are best practices to go about that?
Let me ask you this then. Do they already have subscribers, or are they actually starting to gather subscribers now?
Let's say in this scenario, they're getting subscribers. They're absolutely new.
So the good thing is if you're just getting subscribers, if you just follow best practices, your domain will follow, the reputation will stay as good as it can be. Of course, there's always the variability thing. You've seen how machine learning can sometimes not work as you would wish. Same here as well. But overall, if you're starting fresh, if you don't have, you're not sending instantly from a new domain to a list of thousands, tens of thousands, millions, it won't make a difference as long as you follow the best practices. Your domain will just grow. Like as your list grows, your domain will grow as well. Now, I guess an interesting thing is what we did somewhat recently when we changed our name and we switched our domain. We already had close to 10,000 subscribers, right? So instantly switching day zero to day one, that would have been quite the fail. So what we tried to do there was bring the new people, bring the most engaged people onto the new domain and the new ones onto the new domain step by step. So over a few weeks, we just told people, if you want from the new domain, click here. And then the people on the new domain, we asked them to engage a few more times. So we sent we had two segments, one that got it from the old domain and one that got it from the new domain, and gave them some incentive and asked them politely to engage because of what we're doing. Like we kind of trying to explain, look, you're marketers. This is what matters for deliverability. That's why we're asking. And I think I explained that in the guide as well, kind of step by step as much as I could. So yeah, it's basically, if you're starting fresh, good, these best practices will be fine. If you already have people, try to transition them to this new domain and follow the best practices on this new domain. That would be like my short way of putting it without the nitty gritty.
Could you recap the sort of the top best practices before we're going to wrap it up?
Sure. Let me think. It's not in a specific order which you should follow them. Just do it all at once and it's perfect. You know, that's how I kind of like get out of it to prioritize them. But basically, make sure that people actually want to get your emails. So like best practices for deliverability would only help if people want to get your email. And we discussed that a little bit at the very beginning. Then authenticate your domains. It's something that you do once and it's done. It might seem it's the techie stuff that we didn't dig too deep into, but you do it once and it's done. So
just follow the link and you get the guide with all the text.
Yeah. So you do it once and it's done, and then make sure that first email follows, like that first email gets your engagement as high as possible, because your first email will be the thing that predict what next emails do for you for that recipient, especially on Gmail. Those will be like top 3. And then, of course, think of creative ways to re-engage people all the time. Think of creative ways. Let's say like you're an e-commerce store. Let's say you're Craig. If you manage to get that order confirmation email from the promotions tab to the primary tab, maybe add a few more things to it there where it's like, hey, and by the way, if you also do this, you reply to it. Or I saw someone very creative recently. I forgot who it was, and I usually want to credit people when it was, but I saw someone say something like, they made the confirmation emails, or no, like, not sure if it was confirmation email or pre-confirmation email. They basically sent an email when someone ordered on their e-commerce store saying something along the lines of, we wanted to make sure you're getting our emails, and we got your order. We didn't send it yet. We want to make sure that you're going to be aware when we send the tracking code. Reply here to make sure that you get the tracking code in your inbox, something like that.
That's where I would tie in Messenger.
Yeah, a little bit more elegantly phrased, but that's something you can do. Like, you connect it to Messenger as well, right? You can say like, it's been shipped, but tracking code or more details on your email. Check for it. Do this. It can go hand in hand quite well.
Yeah, 100%.
And so the hand in hand thing is also like one big thing, not big, but impactful thing that we did was just we changed the way our pages are on our website. So the thank you page after subscribing, we adjusted it to give them more information. The link that they click in the welcome email, we adjusted it to give them more information. So like it kind of focuses people on doing the things that are the engagement that matters. So you can do that, like you include SMS, you include chatbots, Messenger.
And we don't have to do it all at once. I think the most important thing is we add value. We send stuff people actually want.
Yeah.
We ask for engagement, and that goes hand in hand. If we are not doing our due diligence, if we're not sending content that we know people want, which you talked in the beginning of our talk, is do those surveys, ask what people want, and take it from there. And don't be afraid to ask for engagement, because that will improve your overall deliverability, domain authority, whatever it is in terms of email. I know domain authority is the old term, but we know what we're talking about. I want to sort of open up the floor and see if we got any questions. Nick, I'm not 100% sure if we answered your question. I think the Gmail, Outlook, whatever, we can do the techie stuff there in terms of setting up the DKIM, the SPF, the DMARC, whatever. So, dude, if you're still here, let us know. Rochelle, sure, full of great advice. I'm making notes. Awesome. You don't have to make notes. Just make sure you get the guide. Mary, good to see you here. Guys, if you got any questions in terms of content curation, maybe you want to learn a little bit more about Manu's background on affiliate marketing, just drop them in here. Manu, I got another question. It's something to do with email clippings. Mm-hmm. Can you tell a little bit more about email clipping? Because that is a big thing as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I learned it in such a dumb way, but it's one of those things, you know, there's that meme, which is like, it really grinds my gears. That's like the one thing that actually grinds my gears probably the most. Because so what happens is, to explain it, if you go into some rather long, especially HTML heavy emails in your inbox, you'll probably run into a point where it says a message clipped, view entire message here, or something like that in Gmail. So the reason that happens is because Gmail has a file size limit. So imagine like an HTML file size limit of 102 kilobytes. So this doesn't mean 102 kilobytes of the image. That's not part of the file size. If you are a little bit techie, you know that the file size as an HTML page doesn't equate, the linking to a page doesn't add the page's size to it. So it's just like the text size of it. When you add the text into a file, 102 kilobytes, that's the limit. So if it's over 102, at that point, Gmail adds that part with message clip to your entire email.
It's that 102.
So one thing, you can send a test email to your Gmail address and you will see that. That's one way. But then Glock Apps also shows you like your file size there. So you can see it. It's 101 will be fine. If it's 101.9, you might want to test it in an actual inbox. If it's 102, cut some stuff out of it. And then I can give some tips about what to cut if that helps.
Yeah, sure.
So it will. So keep this in mind. It's the file size what gets sent. So if you have extra spaces, they will take up file size. If you have extra HTML code, it will take up file size. So every character in your document will take up file size. Yeah, so it's like if you have useless CSS, file size increase. So what you want to do is you want to have an efficient template which you send out. That's why text only is very simple, because it doesn't have much, right? But you want to send an email that looks good, has some design. So if you use drag and drop editors, one thing that most of them I've seen do pretty bad is when you add an element, it adds a lot of like wrapping HTML around it to make sure that that will look good on all devices, which is great if you have like a one-page email, like you can read it in one, like it's all above the fold, as you would say. That's fine. It will work fine. But once you have a more content-heavy newsletter like ours, where you have to scroll through like 5 to 10 screens, I think it's like around 10 on average now, it's very easy to have too many HTML wrapping elements around it, and every character counts. So you would want to have if you have longer form content, you would want your own email template. And one other thing is, because there are some people who ask me this, why are some short emails actually still clipped? Well, the thing that happens when you use a visual editor is most of them add the wrapping in around the element in code. And when you delete the element, they only delete the element, but not the wraparound. So your character count is still very high in the file. It's just like, it doesn't show anything. It doesn't do anything. It's just like, you imagine it as blank character that takes up space. So that's why you can have short clipped emails. It's just like the HTML file that was built is just poor and high file size.
I love it. Dude, we're going to wrap this up. I don't think we have any specific questions anymore. So
that's cool. If they come up later on in the recording or anything,
Chris,
no problem.
Here, just let us know if we sort of interpreted your question properly. So wrapping this up, a couple important things is list hygiene. Don't go for list numbers. Go as in not subscriber numbers, but go for engagement. Go for open rates.
Yeah, readers. Let's just say it like that. Go for readers. Yeah.
Didn't opt in. Sorry, if people opted in but didn't open your emails or didn't click your emails, make sure to send them re-engagement email. If they didn't engage with that, just purge them from the list. Don't be afraid to do that, because on the long run, it will improve your open rates and your click-through rates and your overall deliverability. Do the techie stuff. Do the techie stuff. Don't be lazy. Just do it. It's all in the guide. Go for engagement. Super important. The first emails you send should be like it was an email sent from a friend. Ask for engagement. Don't put too many links in there. Don't put too much HTML in there. Have it as it would be an email from your mother. Not sure if that's sort of the proper one, but sort of I hope that sort of gets it going there. And what else, Manu? What did I miss? Techie stuff, engagement, list hygiene, blog apps.
Cool, like and clipping that we talked about.
Yeah. Test it.
Yeah. One thing about the clipping, a lot of email providers, they put the tracking pixel, so the image that loads to know if you open the email or not, at the end of the email. So if it gets clipped, your open rate reporting will be off completely. So it doesn't work, basically.
Yeah, makes sense. Dude, do you have any last notes? I'll leave the last word to you.
Well, I would say email can be pretty cool if you don't treat it as only email marketing. Think of it as a medium to send information to people who care about it. And then, like, there's no limit of what you can really send if people want to get it. It's difficult to figure out what people really want to get. Don't get me wrong. It takes a lot of trial and error, but don't think of email as only notifications or only newsletters, only order confirmations. Just think of email as a way to send a pretty comprehensive and long form message if you want it, right? Like, you can send as long as a blog post in an email. So if you're doing blogging, why wouldn't you want to put your whole post in an email instead of asking people to click? It's like, there's the thing where people say Messenger has very good open rates and click rates, but in Messenger, the limit of your content is much lower, while in email it's super high. So if 50% open rate on the email, it's the equivalent of the click on the Messenger almost, right?
Oh, I agree.
So,
I agree.
Use email for what it is. It has a lot of space, and you can get creative with it. And if you want to get it, they will get it. It's fine.
Use email for what it is. Use Messenger for what it is. Use SMS for what it is, and use all these tools available in your toolbox to reach out to your customers, your clients, your prospects, whatever. Guys, we're going to wrap this up. Manu, thank you so much for your time and for
Thanks for having me. It's been. I know we can geek out all the time like this, right?
For hours, but for now, I think we addressed the majority of it. With everything you mentioned, we should be able, or anyone should be able, to get into their email accounts and improve their deliverability tomorrow. But before you go anywhere, guys, do make sure you download this guide. It's a free guide. There's nothing in for me. That's not the point. But it is.
You don't even have to download stuff.
You don't have to download. It's just all sort of web-based. But what it is a guide to email deliverability, and it includes everything, all the steps one by one, and more. The techie stuff, that is, which we sort of circumvented today a little bit. Download this, guys. Spend some time on it. Improve your email deliverability by doing the techie stuff. Do some list hygiene. Maybe improve your confirmation emails, your initial emails, and you'll be on your way for 100%. For now, Manu, dude, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your input. And guys, if you've got any questions from Manu, just make sure you tag him down below, and we'll get there. Just make sure you use the hashtag replay, and then we'll be able to respond to those questions. Manu, it's Friday afternoon for you as well. What are you going to do?
Probably grab dinner, but inside and relax. So nothing special. It's actually raining here in Vienna, so it doesn't look like it. I have a window outside, and it looks sunny, but it's raining. So. It's raining.
Dude, again, enjoy your dinner and enjoy your weekend. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Same to you.
We're going to wrap this up. And guys, if you've got any questions, do make sure you drop them in the comments. For now, we're off.